I used to work the night shift at a 24-hour laundromat just outside of Cincinnati. It was one of those no-name places tucked between a pawn shop and a boarded-up Thai restaurant. Honestly, it was the kind of job you take when you're between real options. I was 22, broke, and going through a rough patch after dropping out of college. The job itself wasn't terrible. Just long hours, lots of folding towels people never came back for, and wiping down machines that leaked God knows what. Most nights were dead. Occasionally you'd get a drunk guy coming in to sober up, or an exhausted mom waiting for a dryer cycle to finish while her kids slept in the car. But most of the time, I'd just sit behind the counter, drink stale coffee, and watch videos on my phone with the volume low. This happened back in January of 2022. It was a Wednesday night, freezing cold, the kind where your nose hurts when you breathe in. The snow had mostly turned into that gross gray slush, and the strip mall was dead quiet. I remember checking the clock. It was just past 2 a.m. The only customer that night had left about 20 minutes earlier, and I was thinking about closing early, even though I technically wasn't supposed to. I had just finished restocking dryer sheets and was scrolling through TikTok when the buzzer above the front door went off. A new customer. At first, I didn't see anyone come in. The glass door had swung open, then slowly shut, but no one appeared right away. I figured maybe someone was outside struggling with a laundry basket or pulling in a cart. But after about 10 seconds of just silence, a man stepped into view. He was wearing a red hoodie, the kind with the drawstrings pulled tight so you couldn't really see his face. The hood was up and he had on a pair of sunglasses. Yes, sunglasses. At 2 a.m. in the middle of winter. Right away I got a weird feeling. It wasn't fear exactly, just alertness. Like when your body knows something's wrong before your mind catches up. He didn't say anything. Just walked past the folding tables and sat down on one of the plastic chairs lining the wall. No laundry basket, no bag, just him. That in itself was weird. People don't come to laundromats at 2 a.m. to hang out. I gave him a nod, the polite kind you give strangers, and he didn't react, didn't move. He just sat there, staring straight ahead. After a few seconds, I looked away and pretended to be busy behind the counter. Every so often I'd peek up, and he was still there. Same posture, same direction. Still as a statue, I told myself he was probably homeless and just trying to get out of the cold. Which, fine, but the sunglasses and the hood still threw me off. About 10 minutes went by like that, then he stood up. He didn't walk toward any of the machines, he didn't go to the coin changer, he just stood there, turned toward the door, and walked out. No eye contact, no words. Just gone. I watched him disappear into the darkness and figured that was the end of it. Weird, but not the weirdest thing I'd seen at that job. But then, maybe 30 minutes later, the buzzer went off again. Same door, same pause, same guy, red hoodie, hood up, sunglasses still on. This time he didn't go to the wall. He just stood inside the entrance and stared directly at the counter, at me. I looked up from my phone, startled, and instinctively asked, "Can I help you?" He didn't move. Just stood there, not saying a word. The glass door slowly swung shut behind him, and for a split second, I could hear how loud the wind was outside. Then silence again. We just stared at each other. I couldn't see his eyes behind the sunglasses, but I felt watched. Not glanced at, watched. Something about the way he stood. His shoulders were a little too high, like he was tensing every muscle in his body. It was subtle, but I could see his arms twitch just slightly like he was holding back motion. I asked again, "Sir, do you need something?" Still nothing, no sound. Then slowly, very slowly, he raised his left hand and pointed directly at me. I didn't know what to do. I froze. For a second, I honestly thought it might be some messed up prank, like he was filming a TikTok or trying to scare me for YouTube content. I stood up behind the counter and said, "Okay, man, I'm gonna need you to leave." And just like that, he turned around and walked out again. No drama, no words. Just gone. This time, I locked the door behind him. I tried to laugh it off, told myself maybe he was high, or had mental health issues, or maybe he really was just some viral prank guy with a camera stuffed in his pocket. Either way, I wasn't about to take chances. I called my manager, let it ring twice, then hung up. It was late. I figured I'd just ride it out and close up in 30, but the weirdest part came next morning. I got home around 4 a.m., crashed, and didn't wake up until noon. I had a couple missed calls from an unknown number and a voicemail.
When I played it, it was mostly just static, a quiet buzz of white noise that lasted about 10 seconds. But at the very end, barely audible, I swear I heard it, a voice whispered, "You saw me." I played it over and over again, same thing every time. The whisper was faint, distorted, but real. I checked the number. It was a weird, out-of-state area code, one I didn't recognize. When I tried to call back, it was disconnected. Now here's the part I still don't like talking about. That night, after I got that voicemail, I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was being watched. I kept glancing toward my bedroom window. Eventually, I forced myself to pull the curtains shut and laid down, trying to ignore how tense I felt. At exactly 2:43 a.m., I heard a knock on the front door of my apartment. 3 slow knocks. I live alone. No one knows my address except close friends and work. And nobody would be visiting me at that time. No one. I stayed frozen in bed, heart hammering, waiting for it to stop. Eventually it did. When I finally worked up the courage to check the peephole about 10 minutes later, there was no one there, but on my doormat, someone had left something. It was a coin, a single laundromat token. Our laundromat doesn't even use tokens. We use quarters. I didn't go into work the next day. I didn't go the day after that either. I quit that job, didn't give 2 weeks, didn't care. And here's what really gets under my skin. About 2 weeks later, I was scrolling Reddit, just wasting time, reading through weird encounter threads. One post caught my eye. Someone in northern Kentucky, not even an hour away from me, described a man in a red hoodie and sunglasses showing up outside their apartment building multiple nights in a row, standing still, saying nothing. A few comments down, someone else chimed in, said they saw a man like that in a library, just stood in the entrance for 20 minutes. Never moved, just watched. It keeps me up at night, wondering if other people have had the same encounter and never said anything, or if I was just the unlucky one who got followed. I still have that token. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe part of me wants proof that I didn't make this up, that I didn't imagine it. Because sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear it again. 3 knocks, same time, same rhythm, and once. I think I heard breathing just outside my window, but when I look, there's nothing there. Just the sound of the wind and the feeling that someone's waiting. My name's Kayla, and this happened when I was 19 during my second semester of community college. I was working part-time as a janitor at this small office park just outside of Boise, Idaho. It was one of those quiet business complexes with a dentist, a law office, a shipping center, nothing crazy. My job was simple: show up after hours, clean the offices, vacuum, take out the trash, mop the break rooms. The pay wasn't great, but it let me work alone and listen to music or podcasts while I cleaned. I actually liked the peace and quiet.
until one night I realized I wasn't as alone as I thought. This happened in early March. It was still freezing out, snow piled up along the sidewalks, and the parking lot lights buzzed like old bug zappers. I had just started my shift around 9:30 p.m. and entered the main lobby like I always did. Keys jangling, air stale from the heating system. That night, the only office with lights still on was the accounting firm at the end of the hall. That wasn't unusual. They stayed late during tax season, but by the time I finished the first two buildings and circled back an hour later, the lights were off. Everyone had gone home. I started vacuuming that hallway like I always did, looping around the water cooler, past the snack machines, toward the copy room. That was when I noticed something strange. There was a can of Diet Dr. Pepper half crushed and sitting under the vending machine, like someone had dropped it and shoved it out of sight. I figured I'd grab it last and moved on. But as I passed it a second time, this is the part that stuck with me. I swear I saw it move. Just a tiny shift, like something under the machine nudged it. I turned off the vacuum and crouched down. I figured maybe a rat had gotten in. Wouldn't have been the first time, but when I got low to the ground and peeked under the machine, I didn't see a rat. I saw something else. Two eyes. Wide, reflective, human-shaped, but set too low to the ground. They were just there, watching me from underneath the vending machine. I stumbled back so fast I nearly tripped over the vacuum cord. I just stood there, staring. The gap under the vending machine was maybe 6 inches tall. No one should be able to fit under there. It had to be a trick of the light, maybe a weird angle with my flashlight. I told myself that. I wanted to believe that. I approached again, slower this time, and angled my flashlight under the machine. Nothing. Just dust in the crushed soda can. I tried to laugh it off. "Great," I said out loud. "You're officially losing it." But the feeling didn't go away. It felt like I was being watched. The whole time I finished that hallway, every light seemed dimmer than usual. Every sound felt like it had an echo. I kept turning around, expecting someone to be there. At one point, I caught myself whispering under my breath, just to hear my own voice. I don't even remember what I was saying, just trying to break the silence. By the time I got to the far end of the building, I was shaking. I gave up on finishing the bathrooms and skipped straight to emptying the trash bins at the back exit. That's when I noticed the door to the janitor's closet, the one I always locked, was cracked open. That closet's where we keep the cleaning chemicals and supplies. I always double-check it when I clock in. Always. And I always lock it back up. But now it was ajar, just slightly. I felt my pulse pick up. I took a few steps forward and called out, "Hello?" No answer. I should have walked away, called security, left the building. But instead, like a total idiot, I stepped forward and pulled the door fully open. Empty. Just shelves of cleaning spray, paper towels, bleach, mop buckets. But then I noticed something that made my stomach twist. Handprints on the inside of the door. They were faint, streaky, like someone had touched it with dirty fingers. Low to the ground, too, lower than a person would normally reach. I locked the door and got out of that hallway fast. I practically ran back to the main lobby and sat down behind the front desk, trying to convince myself it had to be another janitor who'd used the closet before me. Or maybe a client left it unlocked. But deep down, I didn't believe that. Because as I sat behind that desk, trying to calm down, I heard something that made my skin go cold. The vending machine dropped a can. I knew for a fact that no one was in that hallway. I hadn't heard footsteps. No one had put in money. And yet, thunk, a soda hit the tray. I waited. Another thunk. Another. 3 cans. Dropped one after the other, like invisible hands were pressing the buttons. I didn't even go check. I grabbed my jacket, left the vacuum where it was, and ran to my car. I didn't go back the next night. I called in sick. Honestly, I almost quit then and there, but I needed the job. When I finally went back 3 nights later, it was a Saturday, and the building was totally empty. I made it through most of the shift without incident, but when I passed the vending machine again, I stopped cold, because on the floor in front of it, lined up perfectly, were 3 cans. 1 Diet Dr. Pepper, 1 Sprite, 1 orange soda, each untouched, still sealed. I hadn't cleaned them up. No one else had been there. No one else had a key to that hallway except me and my supervisor. I asked him about it a few days later, told him the vending machine had been acting weird. He just raised an eyebrow and said, "Oh, that thing. Yeah, the guy who fills it says it drains power even when it's off. Must be faulty wiring." I wanted to push him further, ask if anyone had ever seen something back there, but I didn't, because I was afraid he might say yes. I lasted 2 more weeks at that job. Nothing major happened, but the vending machine kept doing little things, dropping cans when no one was near, making whirring noises like it was running even when unplugged. One time I found the soda tray filled with coins, all of them foreign, Canadian, European, even some I couldn't recognize. I still don't know what I saw under that machine. Maybe it really was a rat and I imagined the eyes. Maybe it was a prank. Or maybe, just maybe, something lives under there, something small enough to hide, smart enough to wait, and curious enough to watch. I think about that sometimes, especially when I walk past vending machines in other buildings, at school, at work, even at the grocery store. Every time I see one, I glance underneath, and I swear, every now and then, I catch something glinting back. This happened in the summer of 2021, and to be honest, I still don't talk about it much. Not because I'm embarrassed or anything, but because I still don't have an explanation for what happened. None of it makes sense. Not really. I was 27 at the time, working as a delivery driver for a small grocery chain in upstate New York. Nothing glamorous, just long hours, a beat-up van, and a clipboard with addresses. Most of our deliveries were to elderly customers who couldn't drive anymore or busy parents who didn't want to drag their kids to the store. Most nights, I finished up by 9 p.m. But on Thursdays, we did late drop-offs, and I usually didn't clock out until closer to 11. That's how I ended up out near this weird little dead-end road called Pine Hollow Circle. It was one of those half-developed neighborhoods, like they started building houses and then just stopped after a few. Most of the homes looked half lived in. One had boarded windows. Another didn't have a mailbox. Honestly, I didn't even think anyone still lived out there. But sure enough, my last drop that night was a place at the very end of the circle. A small 2-bedroom rental with peeling green paint and a cracked driveway. The porch light was on, though, which was a good sign. I pulled up around 10:45 p.m., cut the engine, grabbed the bag of groceries, and walked up to the porch. Right as I was about to knock, the door opened. A man stood there, maybe late 40s, early 50s, balding, heavy-set, wearing an old gray sweatshirt and jeans. Nothing too unusual, except he looked kind of surprised to see me. Not, "I forgot I ordered groceries," surprised. More like, "I didn't expect you to actually show up," surprised. I gave a polite nod and held out the bag. "Delivery for, Mr. Langston." He hesitated, then nodded and reached for the groceries. But here's the part that stuck with me. He never looked at the bag, not once. His eyes stayed locked on me the entire time, wide, unblinking, like he was studying my face or memorizing it. I tried to shake it off. Probably just an awkward guy, but then he said something that still makes my stomach twist.
He goes, "You should leave right after this. Don't wait in the van." I kind of laughed awkwardly. Yeah, gotta get back to the store." But he just stared at me, didn't smile, didn't move. So I turned and walked back to the van a little faster than before. I didn't look back. I got in, locked the doors, and pulled away. That should have been the end of it. But about halfway down the road, maybe 100 feet from his house, I realized something strange. There were no cars in the driveway, none parked along the curb, no garage, nothing, which wouldn't be weird except the guy had somehow gotten groceries delivered with no car. This place was over 30 minutes from the nearest store. No buses, no Uber, no bike out front, no delivery account note saying no car or call ahead. Just a regular order from someone who shouldn't have been able to place it in the first place. I slowed down a bit, debating whether to turn around and double check, but something in my gut told me to keep driving. I didn't even finish logging the delivery on the app until I was back on the main road. That's when I saw the note. In the delivery instructions field, one I hadn't checked before, it said, "Don't stay on the street after 11. It comes down from the woods." I stopped cold, pulled off to the shoulder, reread it twice. What comes down from the woods? I wanted to believe it was a prank, a bored guy trying to mess with the delivery drivers. But then I noticed something else. The timestamp on the order, 10:59 p.m., which means he had placed the order less than 60 seconds before I arrived. There's no way he could have done that unless he knew I was coming, unless he was watching the road, waiting until I got close. It was like he timed it down to the second. That was enough for me. I turned the phone off and drove straight back to the warehouse. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not that night, but about a week later I got curious. I pulled up the delivery log to look at the address. The system said the order had been canceled. No history, no customer account, just gone. Like the whole thing never happened. So I did some digging. I searched the address online, looked at old property records, county tax info. That house? It had been vacant since 2018. The owner passed away. It was listed as uninhabitable due to black mold and structural issues. No electricity, no gas. There shouldn't have been anyone living there. And yet I'd seen someone, spoken to him, handed him groceries. I don't know who he was, or what he meant about it coming down from the woods. I don't even know if he lived there. For all I know, he wasn't supposed to be there either. But every now and then, I still have dreams about that road. It's always the same. I'm driving down Pine Hollow Circle, headlights cutting through the trees, and I see him standing at the edge of the woods. Same gray sweatshirt, same wide eyes. But this time, he's not looking at me. He's looking behind me, and whatever he's staring at, I never want to see it.